Today, we're gonna be talking about Gary Vaynerchuk. Is he a cult leader or a master marketer? I wanna know what you think. Leave me a comment below. This one's gonna be juicy. I'm Dr. Dan, I'm a neurostrategist. I am passionate about the brain. I'm inspired by God, and I wanna bring you some truth as it relates to success in both your business and your personal life. I know there's a lot of confusing and conflicting ideas out there. I wanna bring some neuroscience and practical strategies that you can not only think, but build your dreams into reality. And hey, if you're new to the channel, subscribe below. This one, you're gonna wanna leave a comment. I will get back to you. So I was recently reading an article on the growing online cult of Gary Vaynerchuk followers. And it was very intriguing to me, which has inspired this topic and this video, because I wanna know what you think. Is he a master marketer, or is he just creating a cult following? Or maybe both? Because you actually have to define what your perspective on cult actually is. Go look up the definition. I think it triggers a lot of people, but ultimately, we're all parts of cults in different ways when you look at the definition. The point I'll make is you get to be the judge. But in this video, I'm gonna go through 5 key things that Gary Vaynerchuk does that most people don't realize that create significant influence for the people that follow him. And I think you'll be surprised by some of them, particularly number 3, and some of these you're gonna wanna implement into your own life. So the first thing that Gary Vee does, if you watch him, especially when you see him speak live or on a video, is that he's very passionate.
That is the drug that drives me. That is my oxygen. That's what I love.
And for some people, it throws them off because he uses profanity, and he is okay with it. And many people said, why do you swear so much? Because you turn off a lot of followers or a lot of people. His thing is, that's who I am. And it turns out that when you study neuroscience, there are neurons in the brain of listeners or viewers that when you speak in a certain way and have emotion and conviction and passion, they hear it in the same areas of the brain that you say it from. It's called mirror neurons, or the mirror neuron effect. And there's fascinating research on this that shows when you say something with passion and conviction, they hear it and receive it in the same way. It's kind of like this. It's like yawning. When you see somebody yawn, you can't help but do it, right? Or even when I talk about yawning, it may trigger you to yawn. These mirror neurons work just like that. And when you see somebody that's passionate, it makes you feel it too. And so when people come up to him, and I've heard him in interviews, they say, why do you swear so much? Why don't you stop that? He's like, that's just who I am. And it turns out that that's a major aspect to him gaining more followers. Sure, he's gonna lose some, but he's decided that's who I am. And the profanity that I may sometimes use or that just comes out, it's part of my passion, which is why I care so much and I want my people to get the message. The second thing that Gary Vaynerchuk does so well is that he has a high level of emotional intelligence. Now, sometimes he refers to this as self-awareness, and that's part of emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to control, perceive, and evaluate emotions. And this is so critical because when you study emotional intelligence, there was a book written by Daniel Goleman in 1995 that I literally read almost every year again because it's that valuable. He talks about and defines emotional intelligence. And the reality is emotional intelligence is way more important than your IQ or intellectual quotient. So they refer to emotional intelligence as your EQ compared to your IQ, how smart you are versus how emotionally intelligent you are. And it doesn't even compare. This is why schooling in today is struggles. You're not going to have successful people coming out of schools that you just do standardized tests and get them to memorize and regurgitate information. This is why emotional intelligence will get you far further in life in every aspect of success and relationship and wealth and value creation when you have this. And he has it. And there's a way to know is because he's very aware of not only his emotions, but others' emotions. And it turns out this is a key aspect to influencing people. If you've watched Gary Vee at any time, you can notice he always talks about priorities. He talks about that my happiness may not lead to your happiness and vice versa. And so he does a great job. This is being self-aware and emotionally intelligent, that I understand the pony I have in this race is that you be you. And he has a hard line on that. And so it's not about just being a bigger business and building better businesses. It's you being you. And so he's very aware of that. He talks about life and death. He talks about the end of your life, man. You're going to want to know that you did your priorities, that you could, look back and were proud of the work you do, and you weren't in any regret or had least amount of regret as possible. This is what just makes him brilliant, because he understands that life isn't just about what others may claim it to be about. It's what you want it to be about, and don't make certain things more important than the others. This is just, it's powerful to watch him be able to do that. And he pulls on both spectrums. He'll say that. It's like sometimes he's got very firm non-negotiables. If you're in a business, you're a media company, and you better understand that, and you better start creating content, right? That's a non-negotiable. On the other end, he's like love and grace, and I respect you for being you, not being me. And so this is where that emotional intelligence comes into play, and not judging, but helping. The third thing that Gary Vee does to create significant influence is that he's a great listener. And you notice this in his meet and greet videos. He does a lot of videos where he puts on Instagram and on YouTube where he's meeting and greeting his fans. And if you watch him, he looks at them. He makes eye contact. And he sometimes even touches them, the point where he cares. You could tell he cares. People will meet him and they'll come away like, man, I know he's kind of abrasive on YouTube or when he's doing live talks, or he's kind of profane, but man, he's such a nice guy. You watch interviews with his staff or even former staff and employees. They're like, he is a nice guy. And the reason why he's a nice guy is because he actually cares, and that is portrayed or displayed by listening. So the question is, are you listening, right? This is about thinking about what you're doing that could emulate the great things that some of the great things that guys like him do, is being a good listener. Remember, listening is not about your ears as much as it's about your eyes. Level 5 listening, or listening with your eyes, is key, because 55% of communication is body language. Therefore, your greatest organ of listening is actually your eyes. And he does a good job of making sure he's in a place where he can have eye contact with that person he's talking to. Remember that David Augsburger said, feeling heard is as close to feeling loved that most people can't tell the difference. When you actually listen to somebody, authentically listen, not that you're just trying to wait to get your point of view across, but you're actually listening to them, they feel loved. And when they feel loved, they're gonna like and trust you, and that's gonna create raving fans. There was also a study I always refer to, is the power of touch. And it's not a weird touch, it's not about being weird, or it's about having an authentic touch, meaning when you can shake somebody's hand, or put your hand on their shoulder, or give them a hug, or embrace them, that actually has a very powerful effect. And you watch him again sometimes in backstage or in a meet and greet, he's often touching somebody, not in a weird way, but he's touching them to know that, hey, I care, I got you, I see you. And there's research actually that, this is years ago, they put money in a phone booth, and then they watched somebody come take the money out, and then they waited till they got down the block, and then they asked them if they saw this money. And there was significantly higher percentages of people that were willing to tell the truth and give the money back if they literally just touched the person. It's fascinating that the power of touch, actually what it does to that human brain, it makes a bond that cannot be created anywhere else. And it's known as oxytocin. It is a brain-based hormone that you elicit when you touch somebody. It's a bond that goes beyond just what they hear, what they sense, what they experience from you. The fourth thing that Gary Vee does to create influence is that he always refers to a person's favorite word in the language. That is their name. He always asks for their name, and he always refers to their name. Or he'll use, hey homie, or brother, or sister. It's that very unique greeting that he gives them that makes them feel cared for, makes them feel that he actually cares. Because ultimately he does. Frank Kern, a marketer, said, demonstrate you care for people by actually caring. Demonstrate you care for people by actually caring for them. And so I see and watch Gary Vee do this. And when you understand some of the neuroscience behind how to influence and persuade somebody, you realize that actually calling them by their name in appropriate times gives them that sense you actually care enough to not only know my name, but refer to me by my name. And the fifth thing that Gary Vee does that influences people is he knows what he's talking about. Listen, all of this falls apart. Any influence he ever had with somebody would fall apart if he didn't know what he was talking about. And he is a smart guy in what he knows. The cool part is he doesn't know everything about everything, right? And when he is asked questions in areas that he doesn't know, he'll give an opinion. Believe me, he will give an opinion, but he makes it just that. This is my opinion. I'm not the expert at that area. That's not my greatest expertise. But what he does know, he's bold about. When it comes to building businesses and creating content and influencing human beings, he knows what he's talking about. And his strategies have stood the test of time. And they're always evolving. And so he's on the cutting edge. And so he knows what he's talking about, and that goes so far. And on that topic, one of the things I love about him is that he's not afraid to take some risk. He takes risks in forecasting the future or what he thinks is going to happen based on the trends that he's seeing.
I am predicting that Facebook acquires Instagram. 15 million users for Instagram.
He always talks about how he watches 13, 14, and 15-year-olds, not in a weird way, but he watches them in airports or when he's traveling or when he's out and about, because he knows that they are going to set the trends for the next 5 to 10 years and the things that they're looking at now and making important now. And sure enough, if you look at him back then and some of the things he predicted, they've come true. So there you have it. Those are the 5 things that Gary Vee does to influence people that you may not recognize. You can go back, you can watch this, or just go watch some of his content and you'll now notice that he does exactly those things. And from a neuroscience standpoint, that's why he has so much impact. So, is he leading a cult or is he master marketer? You get to decide. Hit me up in the comments. I want to know exactly what you think.